What's up, guys? Paul O'Neill here with Coaches Corner University. We are here at Coaching Con, and I'm with my friend Jared Hamilton. And I'm going to just ask him a few questions right off the top. He did it to me, so I'm returning the favor. Jared, who do you help?
Who do I help?
Yeah.
I help specifically most struggling dieters that have spent their lives yo-yo dieting, struggle specifically though with the mental and emotional component. Like usually the people that they need to eat less, move more, but there's a lot of stuff stopping that from happening. Stuff that addresses like the inner game specifically. So
one thing that I run into a lot with the coaches that I talk to is they want to know, how do I find my niche? How do I build my brand? And I'm wondering, you're someone who's dove in headfirst into a specific niche. We spoke about it earlier. You serve a specific avatar. How did you choose your niche?
for me, this is going to sound kind of airy-fairy, but I think it gets really tactical. Is you have to, it's a double-edged sword of what, yes, like what's profitable, what can you, like the business side of things, but also like what do you naturally feel aligned with? So for me, mine has actually changed over time. So before, because I've been doing this for like 12 years, right? So for years, I was what I just call sustainable fat loss guy, just teaching people how to eat donuts, drink wine, not be a fitness psychopath, and look good naked. That was as deep as it got. I was living my dream. Things were great. I was serving all these clients, but then things started to feel a little heavy emotionally. I was not feeling as compelled. That went from a 10 out of a 10 to like a 5 out of a 10. But the only way that happened is self-awareness. One of my very first mentors ever said, when you feel unaligned, when you feel not congruent and something just doesn't seem right, you need to get quiet. Because otherwise it would be like me trying to ask you a question and not shut up to give you long enough to answer. So I actually have a regular schedule. I do that now. Like every quarter I do like a Jared sabbatical and I go inward, like mentally with things like that. But when that happened, I wasn't feeling good about things. It was like the business was fine, it was growing, but I just didn't feel, it was a 5 out of 10 versus a 10 out of a 10. So that's when, but around this time, I dove into my journey. I got in therapy. I started doing massive levels of personal development, studying psychology even more. And I was doing all this stuff over here, but I never really brought it in my marketing or my branding or my niching or anything like that. But then I realized like, this is where it's at. So that's why in our program and how I coach and the people that I attract, it's the ones that struggle with all of the issues, the deeper stuff, the self-sabotage or the relationship with food or the emotional eating or unable to handle stress, that stuff, because it's all tied together. So for me, it was a balance of getting aware around like, where do I actually feel compelled and aligned to lean into? But at the same time, but then listening and then following those steps.
What's been the biggest catalyst to your ability to help people?
My biggest catalyst on my ability to help people, I think it's taking feedback. I think it's listening, because even as a coach, even though like, yes, I may be the one, we'll call it driving the ship, but there's a level of a coach needs to be coachable and seeing like where they can improve things. It's easy for coaches to go, it's the client's fault, they're not adhering. It's easy for the coaches to go, all this stuff. And yes, I agree. Like we all have had experiences with clients who literally like you got the car, you started the car, you put their foot on the gas and they just have to drive it and they go, I don't want to, right? But at the same time, we have to look inward and go, well, what can I be doing better? Is it in my messaging? Is it in my conversation? It was in the expectations that I set, right? Those kind of things. You know, I view it very much the same way as like my relationship with my wife. If my wife and I have a disagreement, it's the easiest thing to do is blame. Well, you're just insecure. Oh, you thought this, but then I have to go, how's my tone when I said that statement? How did I make her feel one sort of way? And was I the one that caused that? And we'll have a conversation around it. And usually it's a little bit of both, right? But I have to look inward and take ownership and go almost be coachable and listen like, well, what can I be doing better?
Love that answer. It's perfect, because I think when we look in the mirror, we get a lot of information that we didn't have before, and our clients are a direct reflection of us. So I love that. Now, when you come to a conference like Coaching Con, what's one way that you know you're going to get your money's worth? These are a big investment, the travel, the hotel, time away from loved ones. What is the one thing that you try to do every time you come here to make sure that you leave with your cup full?
It's a balance. For me, it's a dichotomy of having an intention, but also being open. I think this is a belief I have that goes a little bit against the grain. You'll hear at conferences like this is you have to know what you want. You have to come in with a specific intention, have these questions and know and like search for it. That's fine. That might serve you. But that also, there's the other side that means you're closed off to a lot. You know, so for me, I used to go to conferences and I'm like, I got to figure out this. And I'm like looking for it, but I'm not seeing the thing that was right here that I needed to hear, or that whatever the case may have been. So for me, I might come in with an intention of I would like to know this, or these are the speakers that I want to listen to, things like that. But also being open and receptive to what's trying to find me, what magic is out there, right? This is the problem with attachment, right? It's like the difference between like in monetarily, like what if I was so obsessed on making like $100,000 a year, I missed out on a $500,000 opportunity, right? But I'm like, no, I gotta make 100 grand. But like this one connection literally could have made me 500 grand, but I was so zoned in on 100. This has happened more times in my life than I can count, where the dichotomy of intention, or high intention, low attachment. I learned that from Eli Wild. And as soon as he said that, high intention, low attachment, I'm like, that's it. That's the magic dichotomy. You have an intention. This is what I would like to have happen, but if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with it. But I'm not attached to it because there might be other things in this mix. And I can't tell you how many times that's happened for me, that I went in with this idea of what I think would be good, but I'm open, not attached, like seeing what is out there and like just knowing something's going to happen, believing and trusting that I'm going to get the value out of it, because we also subconsciously find what we look for. And then something totally out of left field hits. Like that's happened more time in my lives than I can count. So,
well, that feeds perfectly into the next question, because 2023, a lot of things changed for the coaching industry. I hear all the time that it's a saturated industry. And I've always replied with, yeah, it's saturated with people. It's not saturated with value. So what's one thing that you've changed in 2023 that you feel is setting you up for a successful and profitable 2024 and beyond?
Open to unlearning everything.
Yeah.
Like literally releasing attachment. Like that, I mean, to make that really more from philosophical to tactical, is what isn't working anymore. For me, our old lead gen strategies aren't producing like they were. Our old system around sales, our process, our cadences aren't performing like they used to. Things take longer. Like trust is much bigger of a deal now. People trusted way more a year ago, trust way less now, but that's my fault. If someone doesn't trust me, I can't blame them. That's I have to look them in the mirror on that. So for me is letting go and being willing to unlearn, which the thing is psychologically that's hard, because our brains have this dopamine hit over here and they see safety and security with old ways of doing things. So it's hurtful unlearning things, like our clients. If Mrs. Jones is only lost weight by eating 1,200 calories and doing cardio 4 times a day, and we're telling her to eat more and train less to help rebuild things, that's scary, because the brain just says, that's my old familiar. It's no different in business. It's actually, I think, worse, because we have the livelihood of our family now tied to it. So I think it gets even deeper. But for me, it's been about unlearning things and being open. In jiu-jitsu, one of the things that one of my professors teach us is you have to be aware of where your percentages are when you're committing to something. Like if I am in a match with someone and I'm like, let's say on top of them and I'm holding them down, I'm good. Well, let's say I have 100%, 0%. But let's say they start to wiggle out, but I'm committed still. Well, now we're 90-10. Now that turns into 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, 50-50. Now I might be 30% because they're getting out, like they're escaping whatever it may be. But more times than not, and more of a novice in jiu-jitsu, they're like, no, I have to be in this position, but their percentage is dropping. Then they end up submitting or losing the match. It's the same thing in business. Like, because we may have done things this way, I may have posted this kind of content, I may have had this kind of sales cycle or this whatever process, don't argue with what is. It's not working anymore. I was doing these interviews at the last event I was at, and one of the best piece of advice that someone had shared was don't argue with what is. Like, that's it. Right, you want to talk about a stoic statement, is don't argue with what is. It's not working. Okay, change it. Stop being married to it when your percentages are going down. And this is the game of being adaptable. That's why on my sleeve, I have an eagle on a broken branch, specifically because a book or a mentor years ago said, why aren't birds scared to land on broken branches? Is because they just would fly away. They adjust, they adapt. They go, oh, that's not working. We just go over here. And for me, that's the way I view business and life is, I might intend to land on that branch, but oh shit, it's broken, it's not working anymore. Just go to a different branch. Don't land on it and stay there because it's going down. So,
last question. If there's one thing that you could tell a young coach who wanted to take their business to the next level, what would it be?
Find someone who has what you want and lock arms with them and pay them a lot of money. Like, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that because that's what you do. I'm telling you, every step of my journey, I have had a mentor that I arguably couldn't afford. Like in most cases, I paid for a mentor that costs more than my rent. Mm-hmm. And when you're not making money, it's scary, but also you're going to show up better. Yep. And for me, I can always go make more money, can't make more time. Because of the mentorships that I have and had in place, the mentors that I've paid, I can tell you I am 10 years plus ahead of where I would have been. So that's my prerogative. That's if going from where I spend my actual time and money. That's it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So much better.
Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.